I'm about to tell you about things that you should declutter from your ADHD home today. Now, the first item you need to think about decluttering are going to be all those old clothes you don't wear anymore. They're out of style. They're just not the clothes you first pick out to go and actually wear to something. Or maybe you bought some clothes on an impulse and they're even new and you just haven't thrown them away because you're thinking that maybe one day I'll wear them, but you haven't even thought about wearing them and it's been like 2 years. Get rid of those clothes too as well. They are just taking up space in either case, and that is just preventing you from actually putting something there that you actually do want to have in your closet. And here's something else to declutter: all those pairs of socks that you only have one sock of the pair, like you've lost it, it's been 2 months, you have not seen it, maybe the washing machine just transported it to another dimension or something, or you just have lost it and left it somewhere and you are holding on to the one sock of that pair. And here's the thing: how long are you going to hold on to that sock hoping that the match shows up? So go ahead and get rid of those. If it's been a long time, you might as well go ahead and throw that sock away. And if on the off chance you do find the mate to that sock, then I would still go ahead and throw that away and not really worried about it, because it's just taking up space. You're just holding it somewhere random and you really don't need to keep it if you know that you can't find the other one. And here's something else to declutter: all the duplicates that you do not need. Like, how many different coffee machines do you need? You bought one, you use one, then you have a duplicate and you never use it. It just takes up space. It's just clutter. And so you might want to go ahead and get rid of the second coffee machine as long as the first one works and it's in good condition. And here's something else to declutter: all your different one function items that can actually be replaced by an item that does multi-function. For example, having a blender is fine, but it only blends one thing. So how about getting something that also blends something and then's a juicer and then makes different things? You can have that and it will replace that item. Instead of having a juicer and a blender, you have one thing that does both things. Or maybe you have an ottoman that has different storage inside so that you can use it as an ottoman to rest your feet on, and also use the storage inside to store something else. And here's something else to declutter: all your old like bills and invoices and receipts that you have no idea what you need them for anymore. Like, you know, you really don't need them and you should have probably thrown them away already, but you just haven't gotten around to it. And now they're on your desk and your file cabinet, just taking up space. And sometimes you're looking for something and you have to go through these old bills and look under them to find what you need. So go ahead and get rid of them if you do not need them, because it's going to help clear up some things so that you can actually use that space for something else. And here's something else to declutter: that treadmill or the exercise bike that's just sitting in your home, the exercise equipment that you aren't using and you have no intention of using it now. Like, you bought it, you were going to get your exercise on, but you haven't done it. And it's just something that is just taking up space in a room or a closet or a garage or wherever you have it. And you could be using that space for something else. And because they're so bulky, it's not a thing that you are just going to move, because it's not an easy thing to move. But you do need to figure out a way to actually get out of your home so you can use that space for something you actually want to use. And here's something else to declutter: all those blankets and comforters that are just past their time, they're ripped, they have holes in them, and you probably just hanging on to them because you're sentimental about them. But it's time to get rid of those things because they do take up space. And you probably already have bought new ones at this point in time anyway. And here's something else you should declutter: it's going to be throw pillows that you don't like anymore. Maybe you liked them at one time, but you don't like them now, or they're out of style and they're just like off your bed, off your couch. You don't use them anymore. They're in a corner somewhere and they're just taking up space there. And so it's time to go ahead and get rid of those throw pillows and probably get some new ones that you actually do like. And here's something else that needs to go: it's all of your dead batteries. And the reason I'm going over this is because what happens is a battery goes dead in a remote or whatever, and you know that one's dead, but then you go to where your other batteries are and you find another dead battery and another dead battery, and then you eventually find a battery that's good and you're gonna go put that in the remote. But as you have found the other dead batteries that you just never threw away, you go ahead and put them back into the drawer, and then you have to go through this whole process again when you want a battery. So go through, make sure all your batteries work, and then get rid of the ones that do not work. And sometimes you need to throw out are all your excess hangers that you have in your closet. Like, you just have way too many, you're never going to use them all, and you can't fit your clothes in there because you have so many hangers in there. And so you need to go ahead and get rid of those. And I would say get rid of all wire hangers, because wire hangers, all they do is get tangled up, and they got to go through the process of trying to pull them apart. And that's not fun at all either. And so I would just get rid of not only your excess hangers, but also your wire hangers as well. And here's something you might be keeping, but you definitely need to get rid of, and it's all your expired gift cards. Like, I get gift cards all the time, and sometimes I'll use some and then it'll be like, oh, there's like 53 cents left. Now, I just forget about it because I'm never going to use 53 cents left on the card, because I just won't think about it when I'm going to buy something. And if you've been in that situation too, and you just have all these cards that just don't have a whole lot on them, and in the case that you have to put the exact amount in when you go and actually use it, then it's just useless. And so go through the gift cards, check your balances, and keep the ones you actually want to keep. And then the ones you don't want to keep, go ahead and toss those. And here's something else to declutter is all your excess pens that you have. Like, you just have way too many pens. Like, you only need a few, but you just have so many pens that they're all in cups, they're all in holders, they're in your drawers, and you can never use the amount of pens that you have. You just have that many. And so you need to go ahead and get rid of some. Go through, see which ones work, see which ones you want to keep, and then just donate the rest. Get rid of them wherever you have to do, but don't keep so many pens that you just don't have space for them. And just pick a number of how many you want to keep, and that way when you just kind of run low, you know how many you are going to buy to replace those. And something else that needs to go are all the different freebies you got from events, from movies, wherever you got them from. They're just freebies that you aren't using. They're just on a counter somewhere, thrown around somewhere, and they're just taking up space. And a lot of times they take up a lot of space because you have different ones that spread out all over. And so you want to go ahead and get rid of those and give them to somebody if you want, but they are freebies, so you can just go ahead and throw them away as well. And something else you need to get rid of are all the refrigerator magnets that you don't really want. Like, you might just want 2, but you have 15 in your refrigerator and they just take up space. You're not using them for anything, and they're just not your favorite ones anyway. And so you just put them on there and leave them on there because, you know, they're not bothering anybody or anything, but they just make your refrigerator outside look cluttered. And so it's something that you need to go ahead and just get rid of because you're not using them anyway. And here's something else you just hold on to that you really don't need. It's all the different little takeout containers that you have that you get in the sauce package. You don't really need these. They're not really made super well anyway. And we just keep them because we're like, hey, this is a container that I can use to heat up food or something, but you don't need them. Go ahead and throw them away. Also, you don't want to have a huge amount of sauce packets in a drawer somewhere. That's just taking up space, and they could pop open or whatever and then put that stuff all over your drawer anyway. So it's just something that is just not needed. And so you need to think about getting rid of those as well. And something else to declutter is going to be all the excess notepads that you have. You just have way too many. And when you have so many notepads that you just don't have space in a drawer anymore, they're up on your counter, up on your desk, and they're taking up space there, and you just don't have the space for them. And so when they get to that point, you need to go ahead and think about, how can I get rid of some, give them to somebody, whatever you have to do. But when you get to the point to where you just have so many, it's time to actually go and get rid of some. And something else to get rid of are going to be books you don't read or books you have no interest in reading in the future. They're just taking up space. Even if you have a bookshelf, there are probably other books you want to put on there that you actually will read. And so you get rid of the ones that you don't want to read at all because you aren't going to use them, so they're not worth actually keeping. And you don't have to throw them away. You could give them to somebody or even sell them if you want to, but you just don't want to keep books around that you have no interest in actually reading or using. And something else not worth keeping are all your old rubber bands. Like, you just have some that just don't even have the elastic working right anymore, or they're just so old that, you know, when you put it around something, it's just gonna pop, and then pop, and that band's gonna hit your finger, and that's gonna hurt too. So you just don't want to have these. Go through your drawer, look and see which ones you actually want to keep that actually are really good. And then the ones that aren't good and that are really old, go ahead and get rid of those. And here's something else to declutter. It's your pots and pans. When you have way too many that you can't possibly use them, that they take up way too much space, it's time to look at them and get rid of them, because a lot of times we have our favorite pots and pans anyway, and then the rest of them just sit in a cabinet somewhere. And when you actually need something that you actually want to use, you have to go through, look through the cabinet, and then actually find the one you actually want to use. Another way that you can do this is make sure that you have, hanging pot rack to where you actually have your pans and pots hung up, and then that way you can have the ones that you just want to use all the time. But if you have too many, you want to go ahead and get rid of them. And now this relates to minimalism, and I do have a video that goes over 10 minimalism rules that changed my life, and you should go watch that one right now.